Good morning, Go Erie. We are here live in the Erie Times News studio. We are with Second Harvest Food Bank's Zach Webb, Director of Development. I got the title right?
Well done. Yeah.
Okay, so that's good. Check one. We are going to be sharing with you guys how you can help this holiday season in light of Old Newsies Day on Friday. It's a big day for us at the Erie Times News, so we thought we would bring Zach in and we could talk about Second Harvest here in general. So being that this is a public forum, we are live on Facebook. Please drop comments, questions, anything you have for Zach. He is ours for at least 20 minutes. So anything that's been burning your mind about Second Harvest Food Bank, please. We want to hear from you. So we will start, Zach. Let's just talk about Second Harvest and really, I know a lot of people know the name, but really tell us, what is the organization?
Well, here locally, Second Harvest is really well known here in Erie, but we actually serve 11 counties in Northwest Pennsylvania. So our organization provides food through 399 agencies through those 11 counties. Last year, that was about 9.6 million meals.
Wow.
It was pushed right through Second Harvest, through agencies, to get into the hands of people that need it. We serve a wide variety of agencies. There's soup kitchens and food pantries and homeless shelters, other nonprofits, backpack programs, school pantry programs, produce expresses. We have a whole array of programs to get food to people in need.
And a lot of that, one that I was just looking at, is fresh food, correct?
Absolutely. It is a major drive of Second Harvest. It's part of our strategic mission to provide more healthy items to people in need. So last year we distributed right about 1.6, 1.8 million pounds of produce. That number will be stretched this year to even more.
So, and a lot of people want to know, is it just perishable items? How can they help? How can they donate to Second Harvest?
We've got an easy rule. Today is Giving Tuesday. So if you go to nwpafoodbank.org and click on the donate button up in the top right corner, it's an easy way to give. But we are grateful for all of the help that is provided. So if a gift comes through that is financially, for every dollar that we receive, we can give 6 meals to people in need.
Wow.
If you're interested in giving time, we bring through about 8,000 volunteers a year through Second Harvest to help us provide our mission. Please feel free to volunteer. We can help you with that. But also just running a food drive, providing food, and we will check it, sort it, and get it to people in need. Easiest way to get to us.
Now, and this is something that really struck me, is that in need might not look like someone who's on the streets. In need might be someone who's just living paycheck to paycheck.
Absolutely.
And you guys have these, what are called, food drives that people can just come and kind of grocery shop at, or what is it?
So to get to the first point first, the idea of what hunger looks like is so irrational and so unfortunate. Last year, there was a couple challenges that we faced. There was a government shutdown, and so we had individuals that were coming through from TSA, that were coming through from other government organizations, from Homeland Security, that they just weren't receiving paychecks. And these were very white-collar families that were challenged, just like many other families in the area. There's some studies that say that families are 2 to 3 paychecks away from being in debt, away from being in a place where they need food. Those individuals we serve just as much as we serve college campuses where there's a huge need for food. And that idea that it is just an individual homeless person that's hungry, it's just not true.
Right.
And we see it every single day. And in terms of people and how they receive food from the Second Harvest Network, we are not necessarily a direct service agency. You can come to Second Harvest Food Bank. We will totally help you with an emergency food box if that's the right appropriate response to it. But we network through all of our agencies. We want that person that is in need of food to go to their local agency that may be able to sustain them for a little bit longer until they can get back on their feet again.
That makes sense to me. So what are some of the agencies that you work with? Like you were saying, homeless shelters and different things like that, but do you know off the top of your head?
Absolutely. So St. Martin Center, Erie City Mission, right here in the area. I'm just talking right here in the area. So many, with 399 agencies, we could talk for a half hour about the agencies. But primarily, if you know of a food pantry or a soup kitchen in your area, if it's church affiliated, more than likely they get their food from us here at Second Harvest. Yeah. And that stretches all the way from here to McKean to Forest, Elk County. So
wow. Yeah. And I bet that, and I don't know if you can talk about this, but does hunger look differently in the rural areas than it does in the city, you know?
That's a tough one. The answer is not really.
Yeah.
I mean, there are more resources. If somebody is in need of food right here in Erie, if you looked at our entire network, for instance, across the 11 counties, more than 50% of the food that we distribute is right here in Erie County. And if you looked inside Erie County, more than 50% of that is right here in the Erie City proper. And if you looked at that number, the high percentage of that is east of State Street. So the majority of our food is right here in Erie County. The scope and the landscape of what poverty and what those challenges look like may look different than what it is in Forest County, but a hungry kid is a hungry kid.
That's true.
You know, so if there's a child that is only supported through their free and reduced lunch in Forest County, that same thing happens right here in Erie City, and we just want to make sure that they get food.
Sure. Now, will you guys work with schools and things like that to do the lunch programs and things like that?
We don't necessarily work through the lunch programs, but we have what's called our backpack program. And how that works is if a student qualifies for free and reduced lunch, then they hit a certain income threshold. That allows us to open the opportunity to give them a bag of food on Friday that would provide multiple breakfast, lunch, dinner, and some snacks. And that is to help get them through the weekend on Saturday and Sunday until they can get back to their breakfast on Monday morning. That program has grown significantly. We started it here in Erie City a couple years ago. Last year, we were pushing 80,000 backpacks that went through that program, where we started with 3 schools in the area a couple years ago. We're now up to 42 schools. So yeah, we work with that. We've also, those backpacks are great for younger children. The stigma gets a little bit tougher as you get a little bit older of carrying a bag of food home. So for the older middle school and high school kids, we do school pantries where they can go to a guidance counselor or to their teacher or to a cafeteria worker might point them out and say, hey, I've noticed that you've got a high balance on your lunch account, but you're eating a little bit differently than the other kids, and they can slip into a back office and get food to take home for their family, throw it in a book bag.
It's just so heartbreaking to think about those kind of cases, and especially during the holiday season, you know, Thanksgiving, where you're overindulging, and to think that kids don't even have a meal to last through the weekend, you know.
It is, and it's one population that we serve. We have military shares that are specific to military veterans or active military families, and it's always so humbling to go to the Erie VA, for instance, and we're handing out food, and you could talk to a gentleman in his 90s that's wearing his Korea hat or his Vietnam hat, and at the same time there's a 28-year-old kid that's just back from his deployment, doesn't have a job with his family and 3 kids, and the dichotomy of that is just no military member should ever go hungry.
Yeah.
We have a senior box program where we distribute a box of food to 2,600 seniors every month to help get them through the month. There's a whole variety of ways to get to a variety of elements of hunger, and we have not met the need yet. We keep working at it. So.
Yeah, and it just seems to me, and I know this is a hot topic or I don't know, a trigger word, food desert. You know, in downtown Erie, traditionally there's been a lack of fresh food and produce. What does that need? Is it increasing? I mean, what does it look like right now?
It is. It's food deserts. It's an interesting balance without diving too deep into the the academic side of it. It's an interesting intersection of where there's not there may not be a grocery store. There may not be access to healthy food for whatever reason. Maybe a grocery store doesn't make sense to plop it in downtown because it's just not going to survive. Well, there's still individuals downtown that are impoverished and don't have access to that fresh food.
Sure.
Those food deserts are all over our 11 counties. The easiest way for us to provide access to that is through our Produce Express program. So we bought a beverage truck. It looks just like a Pepsi truck, essentially, or Coke truck, to be fair, for branding. And we wrapped it in produce, so it looks like it's a nice-looking Second Harvest branded truck. But we will load up any of the fresh produce and vegetables, bring it right into the middle of a food desert, and open the doors. And we'll have anywhere from 80 to 200 families come through a line in an hour, maybe 90 minutes, and all of those families get 30 to 50 pounds of fresh perishable goods.
Wow.
It's the easiest way to be mobile and to get into those areas where there may not be an easy access through a food pantry or an existing organization.
Now, is that just a summer program, or do you guys?
Year round.
That's amazing.
And we found that the need was so great in our area that we started doing distributions right out of our warehouse on Grimm Drive. A year or so ago, it was once a month that we did it. We increased it to twice a month. We maxed out at about 140, 160 families, and we decided, can we do this every week? Is there enough of a need for that? We now distribute 4 times a month.
Wow.
We take off the fifth week of whenever that happens, and we have 140 families come through every single week to get food. It's humbling.
Yeah,
our
sure.
job is really humbling. So I am blessed to work at the intersection of talking to donors and finding those that can assist and help those that are in need, and kind of just being a conduit between it. It's rewarding and humbling, that's for sure.
Speaking of like donors, and what does the support from the community look like? Do you think that our community really embraces Second Harvest and just the need for fresh food and understands the problem of hunger? And
I think that it's hard to fully understand the challenges of hunger, because I've been doing this for a couple years, and it's hard for me to scope it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
It's a challenge, but do we find support? We have this past year we do an awards ceremony for those people that contribute through a food drive or a fundraiser, and there was a young lady that rode her bike around her cul-de-sac and collected money and food to bring to Second Harvest Food Bank. At the same time that we have organizations in the area that do check out hunger programs that will raise in upwards of $100,000 to donate to Second Harvest, and all of that is just driven right back into our community. I think that it's an important feature that right here in Erie we're really well known, but when you get into Warren County and Crawford County and McKean County, now that they are understanding that we are the largest hunger relief organization in the area and that we can multiply those gifts, we just keep growing and growing and growing. And but there are some numbers that suggest that we would need to raise roughly $36 million to meet the need. And considering that we raise like 1/18 of that amount, I mean, we just aren't there. We aren't there.
Right.
But as long as we're making progress, we continue forward.
Yes. Now, talk to me about just regular middle-class families who are strolling through Aldi or Wegmans or Giant Eagle. Can they grab a few extra, for the holiday seasons, boxes of whatever and bring to?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. We will always accept your food donations 100% of the time. The interesting part, if you ever if anybody out there ever wanted to come to Second Harvest, and I'd be happy to give you a tour. So much of our food, the 11 million pounds, 12 million pounds, sometimes 13 million pounds of food that comes through, so much of it that is donated to us, our real costs are in paying for shipping and keeping the lights on. So for us, we used to use an old moniker that for every $1 that we received, we could obtain $17 worth of food. The math is a little bit fuzzy on that and on how it works now, so we haven't redone that. Now we talk in meals more than in the value of food.
Okay.
But because we can get a pallet of peanut butter and jelly for sometimes fractions of the cost of what something comes through that is purchased at a local grocery store, $1 definitely goes further than what a food donation does.
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to cover before we switch into Times Old Newsies?
No, just gratitude. It's Giving Tuesday, and I feel my phone going off in my pocket. Apologies, because it's just been such an energized day.
Yeah.
So we are so grateful for all the help, and I'm sure that some of my friends are out there watching this on Facebook Live, and we're grateful for all that you do to help us out.
That's amazing. Okay, so let's talk about Times Old Newsies. It's a big day, all traditionally for the Erie Times News. And I'm sure that everyone in the community has seen. We do old school paper boys and girls. 70, I think it's this year, 70 Times Old Newsies, it's a volunteer organization. These people are all volunteers. They'll be at places like country fairs. They'll be at places where you would buy a newspaper, and they'll be selling you newspaper, asking for donations for boxes through Second Harvest Food Bank, correct?
That is correct. It's a great partnership.
Okay.
So the Times Newsies have been around for a long time.
Yeah.
Long time. Historically speaking, I can't speak for them, but I want to say it's been 80 years.
I think that you're right.
So, in a couple years ago, as the Times Newsies, as their group has evolved, there was a partnership that was built because there's space that is needed to pack the food. We obviously have access to get food maybe at a lower rate based on our relationships, but also in a volunteer standpoint from packing those boxes. And we are networked with people in need.
Right.
So there's a lot of natural connections. So they do a lot of the legwork.
Yes.
And I give Times Newsies a ton of credit. And we help really in the back end of things of making sure that the food gets packed and getting to people in need. Yeah.
And I know one thing that they really wanted to hit. They wanted to hit that $70,000 goal this year. And it's funny because I know, and I really hope that they do. I think that would be 2,500 boxes of food for those in need. So think about that, 2,500 boxes. That's insane.
And I was looking because I grabbed the menu on my way out. It's ham, potatoes, green beans, corn, gravy, brownie mix, salad. There's also pancake mix and pancakes. So it's a good dinner and a good breakfast. And there's other items. When they first came to Second Harvest, when Times Newsies first started working with Second Harvest, there was about 1,000, maybe a little bit more than 1,000 recipients of food. To get to that 2,500 number shows the partnership at work. We're excited. And those 2,500 boxes we plan on packing in one day, next Saturday. So we have about 100 volunteers coming through to do that in 2 shifts technically that day.
And they've done this, I mean, like Zach said, for 80-ish years, and they do this, they'll be out all day, so they're not begging for money, they're just asking for donations, obviously, giving you your newspaper, just like the old school, paper boys used to do. And I know this is a big day for the community. We want you to be able to help, this holiday season. And it means a lot. I was looking at an old newspaper clipping, and I think this was from, I want to say 1970. And that number, that 70,000 number, I believe is around $18,000 right now. But even though, I mean, inflation and so on and so forth, but still, that $70,000 number, I mean, I know that really does weigh heavy on their hearts. I mean, it's good for them,
Well, I like to see that they're evolving with the times, too, because we talked to our friends there, and so many times that, I don't carry change, I don't have cash.
Yes. So on Friday, make sure you have a few bucks, for the Times Old Newsies. However, I know last year, because they were running into that so often, I know they did a donate online section. So they have a GoFundMe. And if you are out and about and you see your local paper boy and you are like, I don't have any cash, even though we're counting on you. You better have cash on Friday if you're out and about. They do have a GoFundMe. They also accept checks, and they also are always looking for volunteers because we have about 70 people who will be, serving on Friday. But I know that they are always looking to recruit. So
that number used to be 300.
Wow.
So they're the Times Old Newsies. Yes. They are growing,
exactly.
And fresh faces would be great from what we understand from them. Yeah.
So what else do you want people to know, Zach?
Thank you. With such gratitude. We are so grateful. We couldn't do anything that we do without the support of our community.
Yeah.
So we are so grateful for that. B, if you have any questions on how to give back to Second Harvest, reach out to me, send me an email, shoot me a phone call. It's a busy time of year, but I promise you I will get back with you.
And give today. It's Giving Tuesday.
Absolutely. And
absolutely.
Absolutely.
How can people donate online?
Absolutely. Okay. nwpafoodbank.org.
All right.
Top right corner, it says donate. Just click on that button. It takes about 2 minutes to get a donation.
Okay. Thanks so much, Zach, for
being
here today.
This is great. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for joining us.